Wow. So first of all, thank you, and thank you to Dorchester County for having me. This is my third year in a row I've been here. Somebody told me I think I'm going to get a prize because I've been here 3 years in a row, so that would be great. And I want to say thank you to our announcer. So this is one thing I'm going to veer from my remarks because I was told I only had 4 minutes, so I'm trying to keep it in line. But can we all say my name? How do we pronounce my name? It is, that's right, it's Pamela Evett. Can we say it 3 times? Evett, Evett, Evett. Woo! Wow. So the governor, that's his big pet peeve, is he says, Pamela, why do they never say your name right? And I told him he needed to make an executive order so that everybody across the state would have to say it 10 times, right? And I tell people it's not fancy. My husband and I are from Travelers Rest. It's Evett. Yvette sounds very French and fancy, and that's not who we are. So for, every year I come in this room, it seems to get bigger and bigger. And there's a lot of new faces and a lot of old friends. And if you don't know, if I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, I'm Pamela Evett. I am a conservative businesswoman. I'm a mom of 3, and I'm your lieutenant governor. And, I've had a different road to get to this position than most people. I started out my career as an accountant, and then I started a business in the upstate. I turned that business into a national company. And so I know firsthand what it's like to sign the front of a paycheck, to balance a budget, to create good paying jobs. And I know what it takes to move the needle. And I know what it takes to get things done. And that's why 6.5 years ago, I joined Governor McMaster, because he wanted somebody that embodied all of those things. A business person with a fresh set of eyes who could come to Columbia and look at what we were doing good and look at what we were doing bad and help make those changes. And so together, along with President Trump and his America First agenda, we have made South Carolina an amazing conservative success story. We've backed law enforcement by giving them the largest pay increases in our state's history. Can we clap for that? Yes, we can. We banned sanctuary cities because we wanted to send a clear message that if you're a criminal illegal alien, there will be no place for you to hide here in South Carolina. We protected life. I testified in front of the Senate and the House why that was important. And I want you to know something I don't think many people know. The governor wrote an executive order that basically said no state tax dollars can go to any clinic who performs an abortion. And that executive order was fought, and it ended up in the Supreme Court. And the governor, myself, our attorneys would not take no for an answer of just letting that lie there. So the governor took our attorneys in the governor's office and went to the Supreme Court, and we won that. And now you should feel good that not $1 of your tax money will ever go to fund an abortion here in South Carolina. We've defended parental rights. We put in place constitutional carry. And the first and foremost, one of the biggest things we've done is we were at the forefront of making sure biological males would never compete in women's sports. Now, we can't take our foot off the gas, and that's why I'm running for governor. Here we go, that's right. And what I intend to do, what I think is important, what my vision for the state is, first and foremost, we want to eliminate state income tax. They've done it in Texas, they've done it in Tennessee, they've done it in Florida, and by God, we can do it here. I want to put in place SCOGE. That'll be South Carolina's own Office of Government Efficiency. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that not $1 of your tax money goes to waste, fraud, and abuse. We'll go through regulations and sunset them so that businesses are not burdened by that anymore. We want to use technology. We want to use AI to make government run efficiently. Because as a business owner, I know if we're running efficient, then we're saving money. We want to concentrate on school choice. That is something I felt passionate about because, as I said, I'm a mother of 3. So I will work and continue to work hard to make sure we get full universal school choice across the finish line. And I'll work with Ellen Weaver because I think it's important that as every high school senior graduates, they should either be work ready, military ready, or college ready. Yes. That way we don't lose our children. Yes. We want to protect our children while protecting parental rights. And we want to stand firm on why we're here tonight, right? Faith, freedom, and family. We have gotten here because of our conservative values and our principles and common sense, and that's what will propel us forward. Now, you're going to hear a lot of people in this race tell you that they are longtime Trump supporters. But what I want you to do is I want you to look back and think back to January of 2023. January of 2023, President Trump came right here to South Carolina to announce he was running for president. And when you look at those pictures, you'll find that in this race, I was the only person standing right by his side. And I did that not for political gain, because see, I was a Trump supporter when I was in business, and I had no reason to do that. I did it because today I believed, like I believed back then, that there was no other person that could turn our country around and use what he learned in business to make America the powerhouse that it was and will be again. Now, 26 is quickly approaching, and I got to tell you, I think the choice is clear. You can pick a mother of 3, a conservative businesswoman, and a woman of faith, or you can pick a career politician. You can pick somebody that stood with President Trump from the start, or somebody that jumped on the Trump train when it became beneficial to do that, when the polling numbers looked good and they needed to advance their political career. You can choose somebody that has executive experience in the private sector and the public sector, who can jump in on day one to get things done. Now, I am proud to be your lieutenant governor, and I will work hard to earn your vote over the next few months. I want to thank you again, Dorchester, for having me here. May God bless all of you. May God continue to bless and protect President Trump. And may God bless these great United States and this great state of South Carolina. Thank you all so much.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans.
Thank you, everybody. Good to be with you. And appreciate everybody being here tonight. Great job, CJ Westfall. Good job, the entire Dorchester GOP. You guys are amazing. Well done. Look, I'm going to be a little bit different than most everybody else tonight, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the record in Columbia, but more importantly, this is a faith and family event. And I want to talk about what we're dealing with in this country. Because it's not just so much Democrat versus Republican. And look, obviously know we're Republicans, and we know the Democrats are our political enemies. But we got a spiritual battle going in this country. Can y'all at least agree with that? Yeah. This is now good versus evil, liberty versus tyranny, right versus wrong. I appreciate what the superintendent said earlier. I had to write it back down. I'm glad I can still remember it when I called it out. I'm glad I remembered that line. Because there's actually 4 stanzas to the national anthem. Most people don't know that. We don't teach that very much anymore. But I appreciate Superintendent Weaver saying it, not just when it's conquer we must when our cause it is just, for this is our motto and God is our trust. Amen. Now think about what that means. We can pass every bill in Columbia you want to pass. And we've done a lot of great work. I've worked very hard in the state Senate to advance school choice. I introduced the first bill in the Senate in the 2021 session to eliminate the income tax. I've worked to establish parental rights, advance parental rights to protect and get this nasty smut out of public school libraries. I care about all of those things. We all do. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't have a belief in God in this country again, and if we don't treat each other with civility again, it won't matter. And I'm not trying to be your preacher tonight. I mean, I'm in a Baptist. I feel like I told CJ, I'm like, whenever in the upstate, sometimes in Spartanburg, Greenville, we have a faith event that's just sweet tea. We had an open bar, and I'm like, thank God this Baptist is happy that we have a Catholic style event with the Baptist here tonight. I tell people I am a Baptist when it comes to theology, but I'm a Catholic when it comes to the bar. So, I love Jesus. I just cuss a little, you know. But at the end of the day, it really does come down to that. It is good versus evil. It is right versus wrong. And one of the things I've tried to say since I've been in politics is at some point you just have to stop the nasty and work with people where you can. Because there's two things that last, God and people. Those are the only two things that are eternal. And those are the two things which we will answer. How did we treat other people? And how did we treat Christ, our Savior? What did we do with him? So I will kind of conclude with saying, that's what we need to focus on tonight. That's what I wanted to talk about. Because if we don't get that right, then back to this idea of freedom requires faith. And faith requires freedom. There's an interplay between those two. Think about that for just a minute. If you don't have faith, you cannot maintain freedom. Because freedom requires us to believe in something greater than ourselves. It requires us to have an ideal standard, something for which we aspire to, something we want to believe in, something we have a common set of values. But if you don't have freedom where you can have that faith freely expressed, and I don't mean, there for a while you had, the left wanted to talk about freedom of religion. You all remember that? Well, they were saying freedom of religion, or freedom of faith rather, freedom of worship, not freedom of religion. They said it's freedom of worship. Let's talk about the difference. Freedom of worship means you can go to church on Sunday, you can pray, you can read the Bible, you can sing out of your hymnal, but don't bring that into the public square. That's what they meant by it. Okay? It means you can go pray, you can read your Bible, you can sing out of your hymnal when you're at church. Don't take it to a public school. Don't you dare mention Jesus at a football game. Don't you dare take that to the workplace. Our founders didn't intend that. It is not freedom of worship, it is freedom of religion. You can say the name of Jesus at the public school, at the football game, or the workplace, and if we lose that in America, we lose what America is. So I would say the greatest example we should all have, in my view, obviously Jesus. You can get the Sunday school answer and say Jesus. But it's King David. I've always loved King David in the Bible. But one thing you have to remember, if you read about King David, when you stand for what is right, and you will fight back against evil, you will push back against in his case, the establishment of his day, right? The king at that time. You push back against the elites. You push back against the cultural forces. People come after you. Okay? Let me just tell every one of you, if you are going to stand for what is right, you are going to be attacked. And not just by people around you, but by forces that are beyond what you can see. You can call me crazy. I don't care what you say. I do believe in a spiritual realm. And I do believe there's spiritual forces that want to destroy this country. There you go. And I do believe that people like Donald Trump stood up to it last year. I do believe there's a fight you cannot see. And yeah, there's a fight you can see, but at the end of the day, there's a fight you cannot see. And if you stand up to forces of evil that want to destroy what this country is, if you're a person that will stand in the gap, be prepared to get shot at, because you will be shot at. And one of the reasons I have refused to be nasty in this campaign to anybody else is because I know what it's like to be shot. I know what it's like. I know how hard it is for General Wilson to have to leave his family every night and go to do campaign events. And how hard it is for Lieutenant Governor Abbott or Congressman Norman. Not an easy life to go do all this stuff. Everybody that puts themselves in we got my friend Mark down here, who's running for Congress. Anybody that puts themselves in the gap needs to be, first off, needs to know they're going to get shot at. I applaud them for doing it. Every one of them. Seriously, you can clap for that. Sorry. Because King David, and I'll conclude with this, and you got a lot of people to hear from. King David was a man after God's own heart. That's very clear all throughout Scriptures, particularly in 1 and 2 Samuel. And that didn't mean he was immune from pain, okay? The Lord still allowed him to be tested plenty. Plenty. But he passed that test because he never believed that it was by his strength alone. And every one of you is going to be an agent of change in your country, in this state. Don't lose the faith. The battle is bigger than Republican versus Democrat. It is good versus evil, and cling to God, and he will protect South Carolina. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow, that's loud. That's good. I haven't heard my voice that loud this week. For quick housekeeping note, about 3 nights ago, I was hosting Attorney General Pam Bondi in the upstate for a law enforcement roundtable summit with a bunch of law enforcement leaders from around the state, and my voice just completely quit on me. Like literally, I couldn't squeak a word out of my mouth. And on the front row was Trey Gowdy, so I called Trey Gowdy up, said, Trey, I got to phone a friend, brother. So he came up and helped me get through this thing. So I'm still recovering from that. So if my voice ebbs and flows, just give me a little bit of grace. I appreciate that. It's great to be with all of you this evening. I have been all over the state over the last couple of months, and I got to tell you, this is one of the funnest events I come to. You guys have a lot of enthusiasm here, and I want to say thank you so much. Real quick, I want to talk a little bit about my past, because a lot of people don't know about my past. In August of 2004, I was a convoy commander in the northern Iraqi city of Mosul. My hua, that's an army guy, because it was a Marine, he would said hoorah. My convoy was attacked with an IED. We expected there to be small arms fire from snipers on the rooftops. That didn't happen that day, but the IED went off and it destroyed the vehicle behind me, and it sent shrapnel through my vehicle. As the commander, I got on the radio and began to call out for soldiers to come in and secure the vehicle so we could get the soldiers out before it exploded. The soot and smoke enveloped the entire Humvee. My ears were ringing. There was total pandemonium on the radios. And as I began to bark orders, I watched as 3 young soldiers entered the kill zone, as we called it, to crawl on that burning tractor trailer truck and pull those drivers out of that vehicle. We exited that, and within about 20 or 30 seconds, that tractor trailer erupted into a fireball. And you could see the smoke from miles and miles away, because we got outside the city. I could look back and see it. Not one soldier was killed that day, but shrapnel riddled my vehicle, went through my vehicle, exited out the windshield. It went to the vehicle in front of me about 50 yards, going through the pant leg of the gunner sitting in the gun turret. By centimeters, missing his leg, missing my head, missing my driver's head, missing my assistant driver's head. We pulled in and we took stock. The next day, in downtown Baghdad, we received small arms fire from the rooftops from enemy combatants. I was walking the line that night. We were shooting back. We were shooting out the street lights. We were shooting back at the soldiers. They stopped, and probably about 30 seconds later, the firefight was over. That was all the action I saw the entire year I was in Iraq. Otherwise, it was a very boring year. It was a very rewarding year. But I say that to say this, that when you are electing a leader to run the state, when you're electing a leader, you want a leader who can make tough decisions. When you have made decisions that are life and death decisions, making political decisions or making policy decisions or legislative decisions pales in comparison. I have actually been in combat and led soldiers. I know what it takes to be a leader and make the decisions that people are not willing to make. Now I'll talk about another decision I made. Back in December 2020, I joined a lawsuit to defend election integrity that President Trump had asked a bunch of states to bring. The state of Texas brought it. Me and about a dozen other states brought a lawsuit to defend that to the U.S. Supreme Court. And no one knows this, but over 4.5 years, I had 32 complaints filed by Democratic activists trying to take my law license because I was defending President Trump. This past June, all of those were eventually dismissed, but it cost me nearly $100,000 to defend my integrity, to defend my law license. Now, people can stand up here and they can say they're with the president. They can stand, you can go into any room where everyone agrees with you. But it's when you lay your livelihood on the line, when you're willing to risk everything at no cost and cost everything, that is where a leader stands up. Another thing I want to talk about is not just risking your life and risking your livelihood, but leading on behalf of Donald Trump is something I have done during the first term. I led a 16-state letter, a legal letter to the U.S. Supreme Court against his impeachment. The president called me from Air Force One to thank me. Every single executive order that President Trump has issued in in first term, in the last 6 months of this term, I have been in the courts defending and fighting for. As Attorney General, I have sued the Biden and Obama administrations between 200 and 300 times in various legal actions. I have defended every single law that the legislature passes in this state court. By the way, earlier it was mentioned that there was only one candidate standing behind President Trump in January of 2023. I want to say that there was something going on that month. Some of you might have remembered. It was a little tiny murder trial in Walterboro, South Carolina, that I was starting called the State versus Alex Murdaugh. That's why I wasn't there, because I was doing my day job. But I also want to say this. Every single lawsuit that I have stood up for, defending, for instance, the heartbeat bill, I defended the heartbeat bill, and when Governor McMaster asked to join that lawsuit, as it was mentioned earlier by one of the speakers, I allowed the governor to intervene to join our fight in defending the heartbeat bill. Every single case, every single time that the state of South Carolina is sued, the Attorney General has been there. My office has been there, fighting the fight, defending the rule of law for all of us, defending our way of life. Now, as your governor, I'm going to fight for a lot of other things. Now, a lot of the candidates that are up here today, we all agree on a lot of stuff. First thing we need to do, and I agree with a lot of what they say on policy, we need to eliminate the income tax. Now, I'll tell you right now, state government spending has outgrown population plus inflation by about 3.1% over the last 10 years. If we had just capped government spending at the rate of we're growing, then we could have saved $19.7 billion and returned that to the people of South Carolina. I agree that we need to doge the state from the top to the bottom, back to the top again. I'll give you one example. The three most expensive things we do is we educate, we incarcerate, we medicate. But there is so much fraud going on in school districts and in the penal system, and especially in our Medicaid system. Just last month, we did a press conference where we uncovered $21 million in fraud for people who were defrauding the system, the Medicaid system, from children, Medicaid beneficiaries. We caught that money, we prosecuted those people. But you know what we found? We found that the system of government, the people in government should have red flagged that much, much earlier. And there's a lot more to come out. We caught that, but not only did we catch it, but we're identifying the inefficiencies in government. As your Attorney General for the last 14 years, I have seen and watched and prosecuted public corruption. I have seen people doing bad things, and we prosecuted them. But here's the problem. Sometimes you have people who are just bad at their job, or incompetent, or morons, or inefficient. Sometimes you have policies and procedures that are bad in the school districts. Well, you can't litigate and prosecute your way out of every problem in government. So I have seen that, and the Attorney General is not the right tool to address that. The governor has a broader bully pulpit, and yes, the governor is not as powerful as the legislature. We need to change that. We need to bring more balance to state government. But the governor has the ability to lead and to move people. I worked on judicial reform. I was, as a statewide candidate, as a statewide officer, I led above everyone else to fight for judicial reform. For the first time in 30 years, we got more done on judicial reform than had been done since the early 1990s. But there's a whole lot more that we need to do. We only got about 60% of what we wanted. But we're going to go back and we're going to finish judicial reform. Can I hear an amen, David Pasco? Thank you. Folks, when it comes to eliminating the income tax, doging fraud, waste, and abuse out of state government, reforming our education system, which, by the way, is something we need to do. I agree with what Ellen said earlier. By the third grade, you can tell where a kid is going, right? We need to invest in third and fourth, 3 and 4 year kindergartens. We got to get kids reading with phonics as well as math comprehension, because by the third grade, the die is cast. By the way, you know how many people are turned away in technical colleges here in South Carolina every year? About 5,000 people. Why is that? I talked to the technical college presidents, and they told me, they said, Alan, we can put 35 kids in an English class. We can't put 35 kids in a welding class because half of them come out like this. Folks, we've got to widen the aperture, widen the bridge to allow more people to get that technical education. We also have to do what North Carolina's doing. They have a great dual enrollment program, but it's a 4-lane highways. Ours is a dirt road. A dual enrollment program has allowed more kids to knock out more general education requirements before they graduate high school, making college and technical colleges more accessible for families living in the margins. But I'm going to close with this. Protecting families. Protecting families has always been the number one goal as Attorney General. It will continue to be the number one goal. I was honored in the first 4 weeks since I announced my election for governor. I was honored to receive the endorsement of 75% of the Republican sheriffs in South Carolina, including our hometown sheriff. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you. Including all 5 sheriffs in the 1st Congressional District. The reason I'm honored for that is because everybody knows that everyone reckons that the sheriff is the most important person in your community because it's the one position that everyone understands what their purpose is to keep people safe, to protect families, to make it so that you can live, work, and raise your family without fear. And I knew that if I went to the sheriffs and they believed in me, then maybe you would understand that the next governor of South Carolina needs to be someone that the law enforcement leadership of this state has faith in to keep you safe, to protect you, to make sure they are adequately funded, adequately staffed, adequately resourced. I will do that. I will be that person. So, in closing, everyone, there are a lot of good people running for governor. There's a couple here tonight. They're my friends. They're good people. And I will say this to all of you in this room. For those of you who have already decided that I'm your candidate, I want to say thank you. For those of you publicly or privately committed to vote for me, support me in some way, that means the world to me. I'm honored. For those of you who are on the fence and you haven't quite yet decided and you're assessing us and you're going to wait, that's fine. I understand. I hope that you will give me the opportunity, just the opportunity to earn your vote. That's all I want, is the opportunity. This not just tonight, but in the nights to come, in the weeks to come in this election. And for those of you that have decided to go with someone else, there's good people in this race. If you've decided to go with them, then I understand that. That's fine. Republican primaries, it's a big family meeting. It's a big argument in a family meeting. And at the end of the meeting, we all make a decision and we get behind that decision. If I am the person you get behind next June 9th or June 23rd, for those of you that are with another candidate, one of my friends tonight, then I hope that you'll let me be your number 2 and represent you as we go forward to take the governor's mansion again in 2027. So I want to thank all of you for allowing me to serve as your Attorney General. Thank you for the opportunity to earn your support as the next governor of South Carolina. I love this community. I love this county. You've been for me at every election cycle, and I will be there for you as your governor. God bless you all. God bless Dorchester County.
We're going to a round of applause for Attorney General Alan Wilson.
Thank you so much. Great to be in Dorchester County. I'm honored that you're here. You could be anywhere. The fact that you're here is special. Before I introduce who I am, I got a call from the National Guard. The National Guard is going to Washington, D.C. The crime is out of control there, folks, and say a prayer for them, because it's not a pretty place. I can tell you, I'm there. Secondly, after I speak, we've got a group I've got to get to in Charleston that we'll go to. But first of all, let me tell you who I am. I'm born and raised in Rock Hill, South Carolina, went to Presbyterian College, went to public schools, Presbyterian College, then came into my family's real estate and construction business. I spent 30 years there. I've signed the front and the back of a paycheck. From there, I decided that it would be, I ran for the State House, served there for a short time, then went to Congress. Congress was a way to give back. Congress was a way that I thought we could make a difference, and we have made a difference. The conservative movement has made a difference. I'm a member of the Freedom Caucus. I helped found the Freedom Caucus here. I think my 8 years in Congress, I've been every year either at the top or the top 3 or 4 most conservative members. I've worked with Donald Trump on the big beautiful bill. We made it better, and it's great for this country and great particularly for South Carolina. In Congress, I mentioned about a week ago, we're going to redistrict the 6th district. There's no reason why we should give the people of the 6th district a voice. We have got 7 congressmen, 6 of them are conservative Republicans. They've got one that votes against us on everything. He's harming his district, folks. So we're going to redistrict it and make it fair. Why do I want to serve in Congress? I want to, let me mention, I got my wife of 50 years, and I got 4 children and 17 grandchildren. Lane, stand up. Why I want to serve in Congress, I want to take my 30 years in business, and I want to take my legislative experience and put it to good use for South Carolina. Why? I'm afraid we've got a great state. I do not want to be where California was after Ronald Reagan and gradually shift into liberalism. So, what do I want to do? I'm not reading from this book. This is the transportation book put out by the National Transportation Committee. Guess what? Let me show you on our infrastructure. Aviation, a D. Bridges, a C. Dams, a D. Drinking water, a D. Ports, B, one of the few Bs. Roads, a D. Transit, a D. Wastewater, a D. Folks, this is unacceptable. My point is, we're going to fix our roads and we're going to fix our bridges. We're not going to put it off any longer. We cannot wait. We're not ready. We're not ready for the surge that's coming to South Carolina. Now, we talk about judicial reform. Judicial reform starts with finally doing away with the frivolous lawsuits that are plaguing every business. I'm sick and tired of every businessman waking up thinking, what's going to happen? Am I going to get sued today? Every doctor and lawyer, every doctor figuring a lawyer's going to sue him because of a bad outcome. Folks, it's ridiculous. Along with that, tort reform, look at how South Carolina picks its judges. Explain to me how a group of trial lawyers through the Judicial Merit Selection Committee are picking our judges. It's the judges they appear before. How is that not a conflict of interest? That's true judicial reform. How we're going to do it, we're going to let we the people do it. Term limits. I like Jim Clyburn. He's 31 years, folks. Term limits ought to be in place for all of us. We're going to put before the General Assembly. We're going to put before the General Assembly a term limits bill. And we're going to make the legislators vote on it. Education. Folks, education is at the bottom. We have got to let the dollar follow the child. And just because a child is born in a particular zip code should not doom that child for poor education in life. And also, boys and girls' bathrooms, it's going to stop. Yeah. Men and women's sports, we're going to stop that. How am I going to do this? I'm making all these, statements. I believe everything that I said that I'm going to do. I'm going to put it before the General Assembly. And I'm going to take it to we the people. If I have to go to every Rotary Club, every Kiwanis Club, every gathering to point out the ones that are fighting these priorities, I'm going to do that. And I'll call out Republicans and I'll call out Democrats. Doge Commission. What did Elon Musk do in Washington? He identified where our money went. And that's all he did. He got criticized for it. Folks, we're going to identify where our dollars are, and I'm going to put it to you, the people. There will be no finding $1 billion at the end of the year and then letting a small committee do what they wish. There will be no more legislators at the dark of night increasing the salaries 80+%. Present it to we the people before the election. I am going to put business people on commissions and boards. Business people, not political hacks. I'm going to put people who have been successful in their realm, in their particular business. And I'm sick of it, folks. The only way we're going to solve this is with business people doing this. I will apply and I call it the ABC rules. A, you got to be accountable. B, you got to be bold. C, you got to have courage. And I will apply that to every member that I appoint on our 200 boards and commissions. I will apply that to myself. I am the only candidate in this race that's got a solid business career and a solid conservative record. Faith, family, and freedom fits what I stand for. And folks, I don't just talk the talk. You follow my career, I'll walk the walk, even if it's unpopular. I will tell you that in the words of Winston Churchill, he said there'll be a time when doing your best isn't good enough. You got to do what's required. Folks, we're going to do what's required for the people of South Carolina because this state is great. This state can be greater. And it's only if we have the basics that I mentioned. And there are a lot of other things that I will do. But the bottom line is we're going to put you, the people, first, and we're going to make changes in South Carolina. I owe nothing to lobbyists. I owe nothing to the political elite that have ruled this state. And folks, I can't wait to get started. We're going to win this election. I had 1,000 people at my announcement. And you never know whether you're going to have 200 or 100. Had 1,000 people. And folks, it's not about me. It's about the conservative movement that is moving all over South Carolina. And I'm glad to be a part of it. I would be so honored to serve as your next governor. God bless each and every one of you. God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Ralph Norman.